Hey guys, today we're going to be covering Satan is Saturn from the Book of Wisdom by Harry B. Joseph. I'm going to go over a couple key points, I'm going to read some passages, and we're gonna keep this super raw. So, Satan is Saturn because Saturn is material worship, and Satan is all about materialism. That's why Satanists, they are materialists. They don't care at all about the soul. They do not care about transcending the physical realm. Actually, the opposite. They want to rule the physical realm. And so that's why they also inverted the Baphomet so that the spirit will be at the bottom and material will be at the top. It's because they value material gain, material power over spiritual fulfillment and transcending to a higher vibrational state. So we have a lot to get into. So many interesting stuff. First of all, we're going to talk about how the soul enters into what we know as Earth, okay? And so essentially, when the soul passes through the rings of Saturn, that is what makes it into material form, right? So the soul as it is, it's formless. It's not bound by space or time. But as the soul passes through Saturn, that's when it begins to become confined to space and time. So I'm going to read a passage that summarizes this pretty well. Entering Saturn's rings attaches the soul to the simulation. Mind and soul become bound to the physical body. When the soul passes through Saturn, it crystallizes, and this is essentially the mark of the beast. So the soul is infinite. The soul is not bound by time or by space. It's not bound by any physical confinement. But as it passes through the rings of Saturn, it crystallizes, and this is essentially the mark of the beast, because the beast is Saturn, it's Satan, it's material worship, it's material confinement. The whole point of Satan is to keep you in the cycle of reincarnating and choosing to come back because you are attached to your physical flesh and your physical desires. So over here, there's also a note I wrote where it says there are 5 senses and there are 5 elements of the earth, and these two correlate to physical confinement. Your senses, they attach you to the physical realm, right? Your senses help you perceive the world in a physical way, through sight, through hearing, through smell. These are all physical things. And then there are also 5 elements of the earth. So it's they go hand in hand together. So our base reality is heaven / Eden. And this reality is infinite and timeless. So that, this is something that I found so fascinating, right? What we're experiencing here as life, this is not our base reality. Like in our truest essence, we are not bound by space, by time, to physical confinement. We can manifest anything instantly in the astral plane. But because we are in the 3D realm, we are confined to space and time. We need to manifest through labor. We need to manifest through work. I wrote over here, elites and Satanists desire power over physical realm rather than transcending it. Their ideologies matter over spirit, like I mentioned with the Baphomet being inverted. So essentially, I can't say this word here, but that's their end goal. They want to keep you trapped in this cycle, in this physical confinement, so that you will choose to reincarnate back here. You will choose to come back here because of your physical attachments. That's why there's a passage here that is so important that I literally highlighted because I think this is so important. It's I'm just going to read it from the book. Preparing for life after death. So important right here, okay? All things seen perish. All things that are not seen are immortal. Preparing for life after death is crucial while we are alive. When we depart from the body, we are left with the true state of mind and emotional self. While we are alive, we can cover these things up with distractions such as food, sex, and entertainment. When we are in our raw spirit form, there is no hiding our true state of mind. It is so important we kill off the lower nature of ourself before we die, so we don't leave the body with desire, lust, and greed, which may cause us to reincarnate. To prepare for life after death, the individual needs to remove all mental addictions, such as desire for sex, food addictions, drug addictions, and all things that consist of materialistic pleasure and wants. Instead of having mental addictions to the external world, we need to turn within ourselves and find love, happiness, and joy, and not rely on external things to source our happiness and joy. To prepare for life after physical death, we need to not be bound to anything physical. We need to remove all attachments, all dependencies to physical things, because those things are confining us to this realm. When our base reality is formless, it's non-physical, it's infinite, right? It's immortal. So there's a quote over here. To escape, we must expand our minds, break free from the limitations of matter, and pop out of the box, ascending beyond the simulation. Heaven is the base reality where our consciousness exists without attachments to a body or physical desires. So this example was given after a photo of Jack in the Box, which essentially was comparing Jack in the Box to ourselves. The box represents the physical confinement, which is Saturn, because this is why, Saturn is very prominent in satanic rituals. It's because they honor materialistic things. They don't even care about transcending the physical realm. They just want to rule here. They want power here. And they want to suck more people into this realm so that they won't break free from our true nature of being formless and not bound to time or space. That's why they're pushing so much forms of dependency and addictions and instant gratification, so that people get attached to these physical desires, and that would eventually cause people to get sucked in to this reality, which then in turn gives them more power, more control, more greed, whatever it may be. And if we take it one step further, this is, when I say base reality, think of that like our baseline. So what we're experiencing here, that's not our neutral reality. This is just actually like a glimpse of us experiencing a different form of reality. But our baseline reality is formless, it's timeless, it's like we're completely not defined to any physical, any dense things. And I know we can get caught up in the illusion that this is our base reality because it's all we technically are used to, but this is not our base reality, and there's a lot of peace in that. Okay, this one, it's not under the Saturn is Satan page, but it's a very similar concept. It's talking about Adam and Eve. If you're not familiar with this book, it's the Book of Wisdom by Harry B. Joseph. It's an incredible book. And a big part of what it does is it breaks down the allegories from the Bible into practical ways of thinking. When Eve ate the apple from the tree of knowledge, that represented the fall from consciousness into matter, the spiritual realm to the physical realm. Essentially, this is so interesting as well. I love this book, but it says that an apple, right, is an atom. And when Eve bit into I'm reading from this note over here. When Eve bit into the apple, she bit into the atom, causing our consciousness to materialize into the physical form, trapped within the realm of atoms and matter. And it even tells us within their names itself. So Eve represents two, duality, separation, and balance, whereas Adam, right, represents one, unified consciousness. So Eve essentially transitioned humanity from consciousness to matter, from spiritual to physical confinement. I'm going to further explain using this note over here. The shift from unity, Adam, to duality, Eve, marks the soul's descent into the physical world, where we now exist within the illusion of separation and material form. And then it talks about how magnetism and electricity are the two forces that create the physical realm. This one over here, that's a sigil of Saturn. And where the Freemasons get their logo, the square and compass, it's from the sigil of Saturn, which is why Saturn is Satan. So essentially, when people worship Satan, they worship material over spiritual. When people worship Satan, they worship Saturn, because Saturn is essentially like what makes us confined to the physical realm. Because when our soul passed through the rings of Saturn, that's essentially like the mark of the beast, because it crystallized, right? It became from spirit into matter. In 3 major religions in the world, which is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, there is symbolism of Saturn, aka Satan, and it's all subliminal worshipping. So these people that believe in these religions, they probably don't even know, like most of them have no clue probably. But the black box, there's a black cube, and that represents Satan, Saturn, interchangeably, because the black cube represents physical confinement, the physical realm. And in Judaism, this is called tefillin. And you put it on the forehead. You put black bands around the arm, mimicking Saturn's rings. These bands represent being bound to the physical matter and limitations of the material realm. You cover your eyes in prayer. This represents symbolizing entering the void, the darkness of Saturn, where physical perception is removed. Jewish Sabbath aligns with Saturday, the day of Saturn, further reinforcing its connection to time, law, and material existence. In Islam, there's the Kaaba, a structure shaped like a black cube. This cube's geometric form is associated with the creation of matter, where black signifies matter and white symbolizes spirit. This symbolic connection is drawn to Saturn, considered the deity of matter, with the cube situated on the Saturn's north pole. Additionally, in Islamic rituals, individuals circumambulate the cube, mirroring the rings surrounding Saturn, drawing a symbolic parallel between the circumambulation of the Kaaba and the rings. In Islam, adherents worship the Kaaba, a structure shaped like a black cube. So again, black cube in Judaism and in Islam. And in Christianity, this is the hex. So this is all revolving religious practices involving this black cube, which is actually representing physical confinement and physical worship and material worship, therefore linking it to Saturn/Satan. I want to end this off by reading one passage from this book that kind of sums it up in a very clear way. The elites, I don't even call them the elites, let's just call them the evils, okay? The evils symbolize Saturn so heavily because it represents the material world of time, space, and matter. They are trapping us, they are trying to trap us within the world of time, harnessing our soul's energy to sustain their control. They do not want us to ascend back to the base reality we call heaven/Eden. Instead, they embrace bondage, desiring power over the physical realm. Their devotion is Saturnic/satanic, as they seek to rule matter rather than transcend it. That sums it up pretty well. And these are a bunch of popular companies that have, satanic symbolism. And again, it's all subliminal because part of their ideology is that they need to tell you in some way or another for them to carry out their agenda. So even if it's subliminal, they take that as we did our part, we put it out in the public, and yeah. This book is so interesting and I'm loving it. I've been really getting into it. And this was one of the quotes from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth by M. Dorial. Okay. Ye must become formless before ye are one with the light. I'm going to read that again. Ye must become formless before ye are one with the light. So this begs the question, how do we become formless? while we are still in this physical body, in this physical realm. And I think that what this essentially means is we become formless once we remove all attachments to physical desires. And although we may still be here in our physical bodies and still perceive the world through our physical senses, we become formless in our nature, in our essence, in our spirit, once we no longer have those physical attachments. Because those physical attachments are what keep us confined physically. But if we no longer carry those physical attachments, we are essentially formless.